Janitors clean floors. Stay away from important documents. The CEO's sharp voice echoed through the hall, glittering with crystal chandeliers. Ethan bowed his head, gripping his mop handle, quietly stepping back into the shadows. On stage, the CEO smiled, her voice catching. I'm alive today because of an anonymous bone marrow donor who saved my life 20 years ago. And this is that person's signature. A glass display behind her lit up, revealing a single signature etched on a golden background. Lily, Ethan's young daughter, looked up, eyes wide, lips trembling. Suddenly, a child's voice rang out, cutting through the applause. "Ma'am, that's my dad's signature!" The laughter and clapping died instantly. The CEO froze, hands shaking. That moment opened a secret that would change 3 lives in ways no one could have imagined. Ethan Cole, 35 years old, single father, worked as a janitor for the large corporation Hale Corp. Every night he scrubbed floors and cleaned offices, earning barely enough to support his 10-year-old daughter Lily. Their small apartment in the workers' housing district had stained walls and a rickety wooden table, but Lily had covered every surface with crayon drawings and papers showing Dad plus Lily signatures all over them. His wife had died of illness years ago. To pay for her hospital bills, Ethan had quietly registered as a bone marrow donor. When the call came asking if he would donate to an anonymous patient, he'd agreed without hesitation. He never knew who received his marrow, only kept the confirmation paper, and maintained his habit of drawing the final stroke of his signature like a small lighthouse, a special symbol he'd created for Lily when she was learning to write. "So you never lose your way," he'd told her, "like a lighthouse guides ships home." Lily was bright and curious, often accompanying her father on night shifts, doing homework in the security guard's waiting room while he worked. Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Corp, was 32 years old, young but cold and proud. As a child, she'd battled a blood disease and been saved by an anonymous bone marrow transplant, a memory that filled her with gratitude, but also left deep scars. During the company's anniversary gala, Victoria gave a speech emphasizing that the anonymous donor was her miracle. Ethan was working in the corner of the hall when Lily accidentally wandered in. When the CEO made her announcement and the signature appeared on the massive screen, Lily recognized it immediately. That distinctive lighthouse stroke at the end was unmistakable. The child's innocent statement stunned the entire ballroom into silence. Victoria stood frozen on stage, staring at the small girl in worn clothes standing in the corner. Then her eyes moved to the janitor behind her, mop still in hand. "What did you say?" Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. Lily, unaware of the magnitude of what she'd revealed, stepped forward. "That signature. My dad signs everything like that. See the little lighthouse at the end? He taught me that so I always find my way home." Security guards moved toward them, but Victoria raised her hand. "Wait, stop." She descended from the stage, her expensive heels clicking on the marble floor, and walked directly to where Ethan stood. "Is this true?" she asked, her composed mask cracking. "Were you my donor?" Ethan looked at his daughter, then at the powerful woman standing before him. "I donated marrow 20 years ago to an anonymous recipient. I never knew who." "Show me your confirmation papers." "I don't carry them with me, ma'am. They're at home." Victoria's assistant stepped forward. "Mrs. Hale, perhaps we should handle this privately." "No," Victoria's voice was firm. She looked at Lily, really looked at her. A child in second-hand clothes, shoes with worn soles, but eyes full of intelligence and love. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily Cole, I'm 10. My dad works really hard and he's the best dad in the whole world." Victoria felt something break inside her chest. This man, this janitor she'd dismissed and ignored for years, had saved her life, had given her 20 extra years without ever asking for recognition or reward. "I need to see those papers," she said quietly. "Tonight. Where do you live?" Ethan hesitated, embarrassed about his modest home. "The workers' housing complex, Building C." "I'll be there in 2 hours." Victoria turned to her assistant. "Cancel the rest of tonight's schedule." The messy crayon drawings covering every wall of their tiny apartment. Under each drawing, Ethan's signature with the distinctive lighthouse stroke at the end. The same lighthouse that appeared on the golden display at the gala now proven to be his mark of love for Lily, teaching her to never lose her way home. After the gala, news exploded. Janitor revealed as CEO's life-saving donor. Reporters swarmed the apartment complex. Ethan was overwhelmed, worried about how this would affect Lily. Victoria arrived exactly 2 hours later, not in her usual chauffeur-driven car, but driving herself. She knocked on the apartment door, unsure what to expect. What she found stunned her. The apartment was tiny, maybe a quarter the size of her walk-in closet, but it was spotlessly clean, and every inch of wall space was covered with Lily's artwork and schoolwork. "Welcome," Ethan said awkwardly. "It's not much." "It's a home," Victoria replied, and something in her voice made Ethan look at her more carefully. Lily bounced over with a chipped cup of mint tea made from herbs growing in an old pot on the balcony. "I grew this myself. Daddy helped me plant it." Victoria sat down at the small table, feeling like she'd stepped into another world. A world where mint tea and a chipped cup felt more valuable than champagne and crystal. In the cramped kitchen, Ethan heated simple vegetable soup for Lily's dinner. Lily chattered away. "Dad always signs with the lighthouse, so I remember to never get lost. Even if things are dark, there's always light guiding you home." Victoria's throat tightened. She remembered lighting candles in the hospital chapel, praying for a miracle, for someone to save her life. That night, Victoria didn't return to her penthouse. She sat with Lily assembling an old puzzle with missing pieces. Ethan watched them and felt something he thought he'd lost forever. The feeling of family. The next morning, breakfast was only slightly burned pancakes. Lily cheered. "Burned is how I like it." The laughter that followed broke through years of suffocating loneliness. Victoria began telling her story. Her father left when she was young. Her mother struggled alone to raise her and pay medical bills. The hospital became her second home. The transplant was a miracle she never thought she deserved. Ethan shared about his wife's death, how he'd agreed to donate marrow as a way to give back to the world, even though he never knew the outcome. They both realized an invisible thread had connected them for 20 years. "I spent 2 decades wondering about you," Victoria admitted quietly, "creating an image in my mind of who you might be. Some wealthy philanthropist probably, or a doctor who understood the value of saving lives." "Sorry to disappoint," Ethan said with a wry smile. "You didn't disappoint." Victoria looked around the small apartment. "You exceeded every expectation. You saved my life and asked for nothing. You raised a brilliant daughter alone. You work 3 jobs and still make her feel like the most important person in the world." Lily showed Victoria her homework. "Dad checks it every night no matter how tired he is. And on Sundays we have breakfast together and he lets me put chocolate chips in the pancakes." "Every Sunday?" Victoria asked. "Every single Sunday," Ethan confirmed. "No matter what." Victoria felt tears threatening. Her childhood Sundays were spent alone with nannies while her mother worked double shifts. Even after becoming successful, Sundays meant catching up on work. "What's it like?" she asked Lily. "Your Sunday mornings?" Lily thought seriously. "It's the best because Daddy doesn't work and we just talk and laugh, and sometimes we make a fort with blankets and read stories. And Dad does funny voices for all the characters." That evening, after Lily went to bed, Ethan showed Victoria the confirmation papers from 20 years ago. His signature at the bottom, complete with the lighthouse stroke. "Why the lighthouse?" Victoria asked. "My wife came up with it. She said I was her lighthouse, always guiding her home safely." His voice grew rough. "When she died, I kept doing it for Lily, so she'd always have something pointing her home." Victoria picked up one of Lily's drawings from the pile on the table. A small house with 3 people standing outside it. A tall man, a small girl, and a woman with long hair standing beside them. "She drew this today," Ethan said quietly, "after you left the apartment. She asked me if you were coming back." "What did you tell her?" "I said I didn't know, that you have an important life and we're just ordinary people." Victoria looked at the drawing for a long time, her fingers trembling. "I've built an empire, made millions, have every material thing a person could want, but I've never been drawn into someone's family picture before." She carefully placed the drawing under the salt shaker, treasuring it. "Can I come back tomorrow?" "Anytime," Ethan said. "Door's always open." The crayon drawing Lily made that afternoon showing 3 people as a family. A tall man representing her father, herself as a small girl, and a woman with long hair standing beside them, all holding hands in front of a small house. Victoria's hands trembled as she carefully placed it under the salt shaker on their kitchen table, treating the simple child's drawing like it was the most precious artwork in the world. News exploded across business media. Hale Corp CEO's life saved by company janitor. The story went viral, but not everyone celebrated. Shareholders grew suspicious. Marcus Wright, the ambitious vice president, who'd been positioning himself to take over the company, saw an opportunity. He planted stories suggesting Ethan was manipulating the situation. Convenient timing, don't you think? A janitor suddenly revealed as the donor right when the company is discussing bonuses and promotions? The board demanded answers. They pressured Victoria to publicly distance herself from Ethan or risk the company's reputation. Ethan was called to a special board meeting. He arrived in his only good shirt, Lily holding his hand tightly. Marcus sat at the head of the conference table, spreading out documents. "Mr. Cole, can you prove definitively that you were Ms. Hale's donor? Because I've found several inconsistencies. I have the confirmation papers, which could be forged." Marcus smiled coldly. "I've consulted with experts. They say signatures can be coincidentally similar, especially something as simple as adding a flourish to the end." "It's not just a flourish," Lily said, her voice small but determined. "It's a lighthouse. Daddy's been signing like that since before I was born, since Mommy was alive." Marcus barely glanced at her. "A child's testimony isn't evidence." Victoria sat silently at the end of the table, her face unreadable. "The board has decided," Marcus continued, "that unless irrefutable proof is provided, we must assume this is a scam. Mr. Cole, we're offering you a severance package of $50,000 to sign a statement that you made an honest mistake." Ethan felt his world tilting. $50,000 would change his and Lily's lives. New apartment, better school, medical care, but it would be built on a lie. "I don't make mistakes about saving someone's life," Ethan said quietly. Marcus leaned forward. "You're a janitor. You clean toilets. You think anyone believes you're capable of this level of heroism?" Lily burst into tears. "My daddy is a hero. He works 3 jobs and never complains, and he always has time for me even when he's so tired he can barely stand." Ethan pulled his daughter close. "Lily, it's okay, Tstonya." "No, it's not." She turned to Victoria, who'd remained silent through the entire meeting. "Ma'am, you saw the drawings. You saw how Daddy signs. You know it's real." Victoria's hands were clenched so tightly her knuckles were white. Marcus sensed victory. "Ms. Hale, the board needs your statement. Is this man your donor or not?" The room fell silent. Victoria stood slowly, walked to where Marcus sat, and placed a folder on the table in front of him. "These are the medical records from my transplant. I've had them sealed for 20 years. I'm opening them now." She looked directly at Ethan. The donor had a rare blood type, AB negative, one of the rarest in the world. The donation came from a 35-year-old male in Denver, Colorado on March 15th, 20 years ago. She turned to Marcus. "I had my assistant verify Mr. Cole's records this week. He is AB negative. He lived in Denver 20 years ago, and he donated bone marrow on March 15th. Marcus's face went pale. "That's still just circumstantial." "The donor listed his reason for donating as to help pay medical bills for my wife. His emergency contact was listed as Sarah Cole." Victoria's voice shook. Sarah was Mr. Cole's late wife, who died 6 months after his donation. The room was completely silent. "Furthermore," Victoria continued, pulling out her phone, "I've had handwriting experts analyze the signature. It matches Mr. Cole's signature on every document in his employment file, going back 12 years. The lighthouse stroke is consistent across every single one." She pulled out more papers. "And I found this in the sealed records." The donor left a note for the recipient. It said, "I hope this gives you a chance to find your way home. Like a lighthouse in the dark." Ethan's breath caught. He'd forgotten writing that. Victoria turned to Marcus, her voice like ice. "While investigating this, I also discovered you've been embezzling company funds and falsifying contracts. Security is waiting outside to escort you to the police." Marcus stood abruptly, knocking his chair over. You can't prove. I already have. The evidence has been turned over to federal investigators. Victoria looked at him with disgust. You wanted to destroy an innocent man to cover your own crimes. Get out. Security guards entered and led Marcus away, still protesting. After he left, Victoria turned to the remaining board members. Anyone else want to question Mr. Cole's integrity? Silence. Good. This meeting is adjourned. As the room emptied, Victoria approached Ethan and Lily. For the first time since the meeting started, her composed mask crumbled. I'm sorry, she whispered. I had to stay silent to gather all the evidence. I had to let him think he was winning. But Ethan, Lily, I never doubted you. Not for a second. Lily threw her arms around Victoria. I knew you believed us. Ethan stood there, overwhelmed, as the two most important people in his life embraced. Thank you, he managed to say, for fighting for us. No, Victoria said, pulling back to look at both of them. Thank you for saving my life and for showing me what really matters. Marcus's arrest made headlines. The investigation revealed years of fraud, embezzlement, and manipulation. The media that had questioned Ethan now praised him as a hero. But Ethan didn't care about the headlines. He cared about Lily and about the unexpected friendship growing with Victoria. Victoria came to their apartment most evenings now, not as a CEO, but as a person learning what home felt like. She helped Lily with homework, learned to cook simple meals with Ethan, and slowly began to understand what she'd been missing in her luxury penthouse. One weekend, Victoria arrived with building supplies. I hope this is okay, but I thought we could fix up the balcony together. They spent the day installing a new railing, adding string lights, and building a small wooden table where all three of them could eat dinner outside. Lily planted more herb seeds in old containers. Like the lighthouse guides ship's home, plants follow the sun, she explained seriously. Everything needs something to guide it. As they worked, neighbors stopped by. Mrs. Chen from next door brought dumplings. The Rodriguez family from downstairs brought fresh tamales. Word had spread about Ethan being Victoria's donor, but more than that, people saw Victoria choosing to spend time in their community instead of her world of luxury. You could have anyone at your fancy parties, Mrs. Chen said to Victoria. Why come here? Victoria looked at Ethan and Lily, covered in dirt from planting, laughing about something silly. Because here I'm not a CEO, I'm just Victoria, and that's worth more than any party. One evening, Lily brought out an old photo album. Can we show Victoria pictures of Mommy? Ethan hesitated, worried it would be awkward, but Victoria nodded. I'd like that, if you're comfortable. They sat together on the worn couch, flipping through memories. Sarah had been beautiful, with Lily's same bright eyes and warm smile. She looks kind, Victoria said softly. She was everything good, Ethan replied, his voice thick. She's the one who taught me about the lighthouse, about always being a guide for the people you love. I think she'd be proud of you, Victoria said, of how you've raised Lily, of the man you are. Lily leaned against Victoria. Mommy told Daddy before she went to heaven that we'd be okay, that someone would come help us when we needed it most. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Did she really say that? That's what Daddy told me. Lily looked up at her father. And you came, Miss Victoria, just when we needed someone. The three of them sat in comfortable silence, bound by invisible threads of fate and choice. Later that week, Victoria made an announcement at Hale Corp. She was creating a new position, Director of Community Outreach, and she was offering it to Ethan. I don't have experience, Ethan protested when she told him privately. You have something better than experience. You have integrity. You understand what it means to struggle, to sacrifice, to give without expecting anything back. Victoria smiled. I need someone who can help me remember what this company should really be about. Helping people, not just making profit. Ethan accepted, not for the salary or the title, but because he believed Victoria truly wanted to make a difference. His first project was creating a scholarship fund for children of Hale Corp employees. The second was improving working conditions and wages for services staff. Lily became the unofficial mascot of these initiatives, appearing in company newsletters, planting gardens with her father and Victoria. The balcony herb garden grew lush and green. Lily checked it every day, watering carefully, talking to the plants like Victoria had seen her do that first evening. They're growing so fast, Victoria marveled one Sunday morning over pancakes that were only slightly burned. That's what happens when you take care of something, Lily said wisely. It grows. Victoria looked at Ethan, who was flipping more pancakes, and at Lily, who was adding way too much syrup to hers, and realized she'd been growing too. Growing into someone she actually liked, someone her childhood self would have been proud of. That evening, Lily asked the question that had been building for weeks. Ms. Victoria, are you going to be part of our family forever? Victoria's breath caught. She looked at Ethan, who smiled gently. Lily, that's Ms. Victoria's choice. We can't pressure her. I'm not pressuring, Lily protested. I'm just asking if she wants to. Victoria knelt down to Lily's level. I want to, more than anything. But sweetie, these things take time. We have to make sure it's right for everyone. Ethan stood beside them, placing a hand on Victoria's shoulder. How about we wait until something blooms, until the basil flowers? That'll be our sign that it's time to make it official. Victoria looked at the small herb plants on the balcony, tiny buds just beginning to form. I can wait for that. 6 months after that night at the gala, early morning sunlight streamed into the apartment, which had been gradually transformed. Still small, still in the workers' complex, but now filled with warmth and life and laughter. Ethan stood in the kitchen, making coffee, watching through the window as Lily checked the herb garden on the balcony. The basil had finally bloomed, tiny white flowers opening to the sun. Victoria appeared from the bedroom wearing one of Ethan's old shirts, her hair messy from sleep. She'd been staying over most nights now, the penthouse feeling increasingly empty and cold when she was there. They bloomed, Lily called out, running inside with excitement. The basil flowers, they're here. She thrust a drawing at Victoria. A new picture, more detailed than her childhood scrawls, but still full of that same innocent hope. A house with a green balcony, 3 people holding hands, and a lighthouse shining in the background. Under the picture, in Lily's improving handwriting, home. Victoria's hands trembled as she took it. All her life, she'd chased success, thinking that achievement would fill the empty spaces inside her. But home wasn't something you achieved. It was something you built with people who loved you. I have something for both of you, Victoria said, her voice unsteady. She pulled out 2 small boxes. Inside each was a key, brass and simple, nothing like the luxuries she usually surrounded herself with. Keys to what? Lily asked. To here, Victoria said, to this apartment, because this is home now, not my penthouse, not the office, here, with you. Ethan took his key, feeling the weight of it, the meaning. Victoria, are you sure? You're giving up so much. I'm not giving up anything, she interrupted firmly. I'm choosing everything that matters. I'm choosing a family. She knelt down to Lily's level. If you'll have me, if you want me to stay, not as a visitor or a friend, but as part of your family, forever. Lily threw her arms around Victoria's neck. Yes, 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 I've been wishing for this every night. Victoria stood, still holding Lily, and looked at Ethan. I know I can't replace Sarah. I would never try to. But if there's room in this family for one more person, I want to be here. Not because I saved you or you saved me, but because this is where I choose to be. Ethan pulled both of them into his arms. There's room. There's always been room. They walked out to the balcony together, all 3 of them, to look at the blooming basil that had marked their promise. Ethan picked up his old camera, the one he'd used to photograph Sarah and baby Lily years ago. He looked through the viewfinder at Victoria and Lily standing by the flowering plants. Then he lowered it. These moments are for living, not just capturing. Victoria smiled, remembering something Lily had said months ago. But don't we want to remember? We'll remember, Ethan said, tapping his chest over his heart. Some things you keep here, not in a photograph. But Lily grabbed the camera. Can I take one anyway? For my wall? She snapped a picture of Ethan and Victoria together, both of them laughing, the morning light behind them making them look like they were glowing. Later that day, they had Sunday breakfast, not burned pancakes this time, but French toast that Victoria had learned to make perfectly. with fresh basil from their garden mixed into the eggs. As they ate, Lily asked, "Mrs. Victoria, what do we call you now if you're part of our family?" Victoria thought about it. "What do you want to call me? Can I call you Mom?" Lily's voice was small, uncertain. "I mean, I know you're not my real mom, but you feel like a mom. You help with homework and make breakfast and tuck me in at night." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "I would be honored if you called me Mom, even though I'm not your daughter by blood." Lily listened to me very carefully. Victoria took both of the girls' hands. "Family isn't just blood. It's choice. It's showing up every day. It's loving someone even when it's hard. Your dad saved my life by giving me his bone marrow, yes, but you both saved my life by teaching me what living actually means." Ethan reached across the table, taking Victoria's hand. "My lighthouse signature. I used to think it was about guiding others home, but I realize now we all need lighthouses. We all need people who help us find our way." Victoria nodded. "I spent 20 years being grateful to an anonymous donor, but I'm even more grateful that the donor turned out to be you, that the universe or fate, or whatever you want to call it, brought us together. Not just because you saved my life once, but because you keep saving it every single day." "We're a team now," Lily declared, standing on her chair to be taller. "Dad's lighthouse, Mom's courage, and my drawings, together we're unstoppable." They laughed, and the sound filled the small apartment, spilling out onto the balcony where neighbors could hear it, spreading joy like the herbs spreading across the railing. That evening, Victoria stood on the balcony, looking at the city lights, Ethan beside her, Lily asleep inside. "Do you ever miss it?" Ethan asked quietly. "The penthouse, the luxury, the old life." Victoria thought about it honestly. "Sometimes I miss the convenience, the space, but I don't miss the loneliness. I don't miss being surrounded by things instead of people." She turned to face him. "I spent decades building an empire, trying to prove I was worth the miracle someone gave me. But I was looking at it all wrong. The miracle wasn't just a transplant. The miracle was finding my way here, to you and Lily. The miracle was learning that family isn't where you're born, it's where you're chosen. And where you choose to stay," Ethan added, pulling her close. "And where you choose to stay," Victoria agreed. "Every single day." Inside, on the wall beside Lily's bed, hung 3 pictures side by side. The old photo of Ethan and Sarah with baby Lily. The new photo Lily had taken that morning of Ethan and Victoria. And Lily's drawing labeled home. 3 images of family, 3 different configurations, but all built on the same foundation of love and choice and lighthouses guiding people home. In the darkness, the string lights on the balcony glowed softly, like stars, like hope, like the future they were building together. One signature, one chance encounter, one brave child speaking truth. That's all it took to change everything. If you believe healing stories like this deserve to be told, leave a comment below and subscribe to Hidden Heart Stories. But we tell the stories that should never be forgotten. Thank you for listening.